If everyone else has the same CD and everyone has number 13 and I'm just the one unlucky person to get 12, like, am I compensated for something? Like...
What's up, BVB Army? Welcome back to our channel, BVB Army Hearts to Hearts. I am Ruth.
And I'm Nicole.
Welcome! And happy fall! It's officially fall!
Fall is upon us. I'm so happy.
Your birthday's next month.
It is. I'm going to be 29. Almost 30. Wow.
There's a lot happening next month, let's be honest.
There's so much going on in October. I am so looking forward to it, though.
Because this is our last episode for this month, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the last episode in September, and it's so crazy that we are filming on the first day of fall. Hello, we could live in fall forever.
We can, although it would help me if my house heater was working.
Yeah, see, I'm very, like, that's unfortunate.
Okay, BVB Army, so we are here because it is now officially time that we officially dive into the beautiful, beautiful, wonderful album of We Stitch These Wounds right here.
Ooh, as if you couldn't tell based upon our makeup.
I mean, Nicole killed it, honestly. Like,
You killed it too.
doing that. I thought about doing like an actual skull, like freaking makeup look, and I'm like, it is kind of, but like I was thinking like, let's do let's add some gold up, but I kept my this is what.
But you know what I really like about yours is your shadowing effect, because you make it it looks like you're from the front end, even when you turn to the side, it looks like this is just like a face that you could pull off. You know what I mean? That's what's really cool about it.
Got a little inspired from American Horror Story Murder House, that skeleton look. So just add some gold here and there.
That is like the best look, though.
But yes, we are officially going to dive into this album. We are super excited. We've done our research about this album and everything else that we could find online. We apologize if we got any facts wrong, first of all.
Yes, the internet is not always our friend. There are false things on the internet.
No.
So I will say this. I never do Wikipedia, but this time I did what you did, Ruth. I just watched videos of the guys talking about the album. I'm like, that's going to be, because that is a reliable source.
Yeah, I think Nicole and I kind of did the same thing. We both watched videos of the guys breaking down the album, the songs and stuff. So I think we might have similar things. If we have something new, we have something new. So there we go.
Right? Maybe we have some things that like might surprise the other. I doubt it, because I doubt it. Yeah, I doubt it. But who knows? We'll find out.
We'll find out here. I guess let us start breaking down this beautiful, beautiful album of We Stitch These Wounds. So, release date of this masterpiece came on July 31st, 2020.
Because you always ask me, I'm going to ask you now. Where were you, Ruth, when this came out?
Okay, so 2020. What happened in 2020?
I don't know. 2020 is kind of a blur.
2020. So let's see. That was summer. Okay, so June, we just finished the crazy school year during the pandemic, which was crazy. Virtual teaching, mask on, slowly coming in person. It was a crazy school year teaching. And so when I found out that BVB was remaking the first album, and I was freaking out because I'm like, oh my god, has it already been 10 years already since that first album came out?
I know. Well, that's the thing, is, at least in my opinion, I could have sworn that it was rumored before it came out. I saw fans talking about it, but I thought it was just kind of one of those, oh, this is a concept idea that fans want to happen. I didn't think it was actually going to be legit until I saw like the snippets from what Jake was talking about that people would post, and I was like, this is actually happening. This is real. Yeah. I did read that like this is like a concept that I guess Andy and Jake were discussing for quite some time. I think they were just saying how like they were so, obviously as a band, they have grown so much musically, and they talked about how they wanted to revisit the old album just with the change of their dynamics and with how much better their recordings have sounded, that they wanted to go back and redo this. But at the time, I guess they were not with Sumerian Records. They were with, I think, Universal, and Universal denied the re-recording of Restitch, but it was something that they still were like secretly working on.
Which it was amazing. They recorded this album in the year 2019 before the release date of 2020, and Jake had a huge involvement with this album. Let me just point that out there. So Jake, thank you so much for your hard work for this album, because obviously all the guys had a big work effort in it, but Jake, I felt like you took a lot for this album to happen and how it turned out.
Oh, he definitely did. I read that they put all their trust into Jake to make this album completely perfect. They just with how much Jake knew, just rhythmically knowing the songs for all the guitars and doing all the production work. I mean, oh my God, Jake is so amazing.
He's amazing. They did this whole recording in his own Jake studio, which is in his little apartment in LA, I believe. There's like clips here and there. You can find those online about it and how Andy went to this like little booth to sing and stuff. So
yeah, what was it? I think Jake and Jinx, I think, recorded at Jake's place, but Cece recorded the drums in Los Angeles, if I'm not mistaken.
So when they released this album, they were with Sumerian Records when they did this album. I think the promotion that they did and worked with the Sumerian Records was phenomenal. I love the photo edits that they did, the video footage that they did of teasing and the promotion of this album.
The first song that they dropped was Sweet Blasphemy.
So that came out June 26, 2020. The first song was released. Okay,
literally. Okay. I was just gonna say, I just gotten off work. I wasn't even aware that the song was released just yet. It was downpouring rain. I'm in my car, and it was a Mini Coupe, so I'm like, okay, well, I can't driving in downpouring rain. I'm gonna slide. So I was just scrolling on my phone, and when I saw it, oh my gosh, it brought back so much nostalgia. And what I really loved about the newer Sweet Blasphemy, for anyone that has not seen the Alive and Burning DVD from Black Veil Brides, how they sing Sweet Blasphemy on that DVD is exactly how they sung Sweet Blasphemy in the new Restitch album. I was so freaking happy because when I heard it on Alive and Burning, I was like, that is how it should have been sung the whole time. So to hear them bring that into this new album, into the remastered, I was like, yes.
Most fans know this Restitch These Wounds was a 10-year anniversary. The guys made it clear it was not a replacement for the original album. It was more of a companion piece for it, not a replacement. Sweet Blasphemy was the first single that came out. Where was I? I was still working, I think, during that time or something. And I came back home afterward and listened to it I made a reaction video. It's on my personal channel. Yeah, same thing with you, nostalgia. I started crying immediately, but just because that is nostalgia, because it just brought me all the emotions from 15-year-old me, high school me. So
well, and just for them to make it Sweet Blasphemy, I didn't expect that to be released as the single. I was thinking like Perfect Weapon or Knives and Pens.
So here's the thing. So you brought this up. So the video that I saw of them breaking down, they were talking about Sweet Blasphemy. So Jake said the Sweet Blasphemy should have been a single, but since Knives and Pens and Perfect Weapon kind of came out, it was a fan staple, but they also saw that Sweet Blasphemy was another fan favorite. They wanted that as a single when they had the original We Stitched These Wounds, but when they had Restitch, they're like, this is the opportunity to make Sweet Blasphemy the first single to come out as a remastered version and stuff.
And I also read with Sweet Blasphemy, not read, sorry. The video that I had watched of Andy, I guess, explained how Sweet Blasphemy is one of his favorite Black Veil Bride songs. And apparently it's one of Cece's too. I did not know that. I'm like, oh.
Nicole, I told you that was Cece's. I told you that episodes ago. That was his favorite song to re-record and play live, because for those of us, again, who don't know, but the first Restitch These albums, Sandra was the drummer, so Cece wasn't there. And so when Cece joined, he basically had to learn all of these songs. And so when it came to Sweet Blasphemy, he loved it. And that's why when he got a chance to be a part of I get to put my skills in an album and stuff, boom, that was his one of his favorite songs.
And I think that is the cool part. When you sit down and you listen to We Stitch and then you listen to Restitch, there is that comparison. Don't get me wrong, Sandra was great on drums. I think she was perfect for the original album, but when you compare it to the remastered, it's one of those you just wish Cece was a part of that first one, because the way he performed on those drums for every single song is outstanding.
It is. I think for a lot of songs, that CC did come and join into the beginning years before other albums they made. CC did a lot of changes to a lot of the songs from We Stitch These Wounds. And so for when it came to Sweet Blasphemy, we always say this because we don't know the correct term, that speaking part of Andy does in the song. Chorus, bridge, I don't know.
How would we say that? I have no idea. We're just gonna keep it as the speaking
anyway
part.
So the original, Jake's and Andy and Cece said this often throughout the interviews I saw, is like there's like a marching part, that's what they call it, building up when Andy is speaking to us, we are young and blah 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 and stuff. Cece was not a fan of it, so basically Jake wasn't a fan of like kind of that marching part of it, and so they just told Cece, do what you want to do with this part. And that's why that part when Andy is speaking to us and stuff, there's a big difference where in the original we hear this marching drum beat, but then in the remastered we have is more of those like, okay, that is a drum solo, that is strictly CC.
Mm-hmm. And it's just 1,000 times better. Mm-hmm. It really makes it like it completes the song. It really does.
It does. And I know Andy said this from early years, but I think he still means it, that when he wrote this song, he wrote it from start to beginning, and he didn't really go back for any edits or rechanges. So,
but see, that's what's so beautiful about Sweet Blasphemy. It doesn't need to be. There doesn't need to be any changes with it.
I know we're in Sweet Blasphemy, but the second song that came out before the whole album came out was Perfect Weapon, which was released on July 17th, 2020. So,
what were your thoughts on Perfect Weapon?
So, just knowing the fact that they are going back to each of these songs, remastering, editing, and make it like better. Oh, I hate saying that word, but for them, because make it more evolved to where they were now. Sweet Blasphemy took me off surprise. I didn't know how amazing it was going to sound. And so when Perfect Weapon came out, again, made a reaction video. Again, it's on my personal channel. Well, because I know for Perfect Weapon, it's the same lyrics over and over and over again. And I was just curious, like, okay, the original sounded more
raw,
a little, okay, I don't mean this in a bad way. It's more raw and a little like muffler. I don't know if that's the word. So when I heard the remaster, it just sounded more clear. Like the instruments, the editing was just like on point, on clear. And I didn't know, I felt like you could hear obviously the talent of the growth from each of them, especially Andy's voice. And so that's what I appreciated with this remastered. It's just like, wow, this is much clearer than the other one. I mean, don't get me wrong, first one's amazing, but this one just sounded more clear.
Well, and I think it's safe to say that with all the songs, because I think in the OG album, a lot of it did sound pretty raw. Not all of them sounded muffed, but you could hear, like, from a technicality point, you could hear that there were maybe some things that weren't very well put together. Whereas in the remastered version, every single song, as you said, it's clear and technicality is absolutely well done. I will say, like, every song surprised me. Perfect Weapon surprised me with the beginning, because in the original, that scream at the beginning is very impactful. It's very like in your face, whereas I felt in the remastered version, it was kind of more toned down and quiet, but that's not necessarily a bad thing either. I think it really fitted the song better.
One fun fact about them remaking this song, this made me laugh so hard when I was watching videos. Jake stated, and he admitted to this, that he actually got bored playing the guitar solo.
Oh, wow.
He got a little bored playing the guitar solo, like how they recorded it for the first album. So when they had the chance to remaster it and fix it, well, improve it a little better, he added new elements to that guitar solo. So if you really listen closely to the first original to the remastered one, the guitar solos sound the same, but there's different elements you can definitely point on, because he stated he did get bored playing it. So
yeah, and I think they did that with a lot of the songs on there. There's little, very tiny little changes that I don't know if a lot of people paid attention to.
And that's what one thing CC said throughout this whole album, is that since he was coming in doing all the drums for all the songs and stuff, like, I can't remember word by word, but he mentioned something like I want it to be like a samurai warrior, just like kind of coming in and out, like for fans to kind of see like where they can catch the different differences, because there was a couple of songs where he did keep things the same roughly, but there's other songs where he added new elements or changed them. So he's like, I want to see if the fans can catch them and stuff. It's like kind of fun reading all the comments of like when Sweet Blasphemy came out. He's like, it was fun reading all the comments to see if the fans loved the changes and loved the new updated versions and stuff. So,
and that's the thing, is I feel, because they did it in both. They did the changes lyrically, and they also did the changes melodically too.
Those two songs came out before the album, then the album came out, which and I was lucky enough to get the vinyl when the release date, which I don't have out. That is a crime. Why don't I have that out? This beautiful baby I was able to purchase when it came out, and it's so pretty when you look inside.
It is gorgeous. Unfortunately, I've never been lucky to grab any Black Veil Bride vinyl. I've only been fortunate enough to grab the CDs.
And then this is what it looks like with all the beautiful photos that they did at the Mexico show before the pandemic hit, when the album came out. And then the design of the vinyl.
Oh, I freaking love the design of the vinyl.
I got this cool splatter effect.
Yes.
And it has the skull on the other side, which is amazing.
Yeah, which is cool. Yeah. And I love like the neon green, but it has hints of yellow.
I love it. They did, whoever designed this vinyl was amazing. I was so happy when I purchased it, honestly, because I don't know, there's a part of me that just knew like you kind of have to purchase it because of the 10-year anniversary from the first album that basically got you into Black Veil Brides. I'm like, okay, that's fair. So
yeah, I think with the release of the 10-year, they obviously did merchandise. They had like shirts and hoodies, I think tank tops,
flags.
Yep. And then they had the vinyl, the CD, and then they also had, I think, now this I don't know, I think if you purchased the vinyl or the CD, I think it was the CD, you got like a signed poster of the album cover, and they all signed it. Yeah.
We both got it.
Yes, I haven't. See, yours is framed. You're smarter than me. I've never been able to frame my stuff, unfortunately. Frames are expensive. Like, why pay $20 for a frame? Or can we just talk about the glow up of the outcast?
Most fans should know this. The intro is Andy's grandpa. He asked him to, because Andy wrote him a script and called his mom and told his mom, like, hey, can you give this to grandpa and tell him to say it very loudly over the phone, just due to the budget they had for the first album. And so what Jake said is that they still had the original audio or voice memo of Andy's grandpa saying these outcasts, the intro to us. And so basically they wanted to keep it roughly the same. It's still the same voice, Andy's grandpa. Jake just did a couple of editing here and there and a little bit elements to add it, make it more, in my opinion, spookier.
No, I definitely agree. It's a hell of a lot more spookier. I know I said this before. I don't know why. I think like the background noise that it has almost gives me like pirate vibes. I don't know why. Like I just think of like this pirate ship creaking, like it's but it's pretty cool. Like I think it works for it.
Okay, this is totally offside now. I know when I showed you, they're just like, oh, it looks like the Goonies. It's what's the pirate's name from Goonies? One-Eyed Willie.
One-Eyed Willie. Yes. Oh my god, I cannot unsee this now. The Restitch album is the Goonies. What? And for Jake to take that recording of Andy's grandfather and of course, I know there's so many things that he did with it, but it's almost as if he made it sound more clearer too.
Jake, again, did a lot with the editing, and I'm sure he had a great idea. Obviously, talked to Andy about it, because I know how personal Andy's grandpa's words is for that to open it up. I mean, he mentioned that to us when we had him on the show, when they did that collection drop, the merch drop of the Outcast and stuff. I swear, it almost sounded like, I know the intro's one thing, but then it sounds, they do such a good job just like cutting right into We Stitch These Wounds afterwards.
Oh my god, when the drop of We Stitch, I was flabbergasted.
First time listening to We Stitch from the remastered one made me think of the Pins and Needles show, because when they didn't open it up with it, but they did play it there, obviously from the original one. And I just, again, nostalgia, but I'm like, if they would have played this back then, I think my soul would have left.
A fun fact about We Stitch These Wounds, not necessarily on the remastered, but on the OG, We Stitch These Wounds is the first ever collaboration of Andy, Jinx, and Jake.
Although, sorry, I know that is correct, but I also found out that We Stitch These Wounds was the first song that Andy kind of wrote and got help from a childhood friend named Chris.
Yep, that too. Yeah, because he was talking about how Chris could not, unfortunately, make it to LA with Andy. They're at different points in their lives, but Andy took that We Stitch These Wounds song, and that's when he met Jinx, and then Jinx introduced him to Jake, and that song was like the first collaboration, though, which I think is pretty cool. And for it to be like the first song on the record. But for the remastered version of We Stitch, though, hello, I am absolutely in love with it. Did you please tell me? So, like, obviously, I know it's a lot easier to like listen for like lyrically changes. But just rhythmically, melodically, all the beautiful instruments. Oh my God. The way that they play We Stitch now. It is so beautiful. It's beautifully done. And I do love how towards the end, though, Andy did a vocal change with the Stitch These Wounds with Me Tonight. If anyone knows I'm talking about that part, he gets a little higher. And oh God, the whole thing is beautiful.
Beautiful Remains.
I love Beautiful Remains.
I know for the original one, this was the first track that Jake worked for with BVB. For Beautiful Remains. He stated he didn't do a lot of changes for the remake, the remastered one for this song. Roughly still the same, but there, I mean, obviously a little here and there. With
little tweaks and stuff.
But like roughly kept it the same.
I think a little fun fact with Beautiful Remains, before it even made it like onto the record itself, it was originally designed to be called Funeral in Flames. And I was like, what?
You know the frames? Alice, who is Andy's cousin.
Oh my, yes. It was not necessarily based on Andy's cousin, but the name Alice.
The name, because like it's Alice Cooper and stuff.
Yeah, and like it's, basically, for anyone that doesn't know, Beautiful Remains is just celebrating, friends or a loved one. And he had this whole before Wretched and Divine. Andy already had a concept in mind. This
was, in a way, his very first dive into a concept song, going with Beautiful Remains, because they talked about this character named Alice, just kind of like.
She was supposed to be like just traveling
and then her time came, and then it's like, remember the good times, don't dwell on the death, be there in the present, and just remember the good times you had.
I love how it rhymes. Beautiful Remains, Funeral in Flames.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. How would you feel about it though? If it wasn't Beautiful Remains, it was Funeral in Flames.
I ain't even mad. Like, okay. I still love the title. Like, so that's the thing though. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Andy say though, like originally Funeral in Flames, it was going to be written differently. Because it's basically, I mean, the name within the title of itself, Funeral in Flames, is supposed to be like about a funeral, but they completely changed it once they decided to not go with the concept.
Yeah, because I think Andy was roughly new to that concept thing and stuff, so he was just not like 100% sure on it, and then I'm sure other factors came into play. So
I do love Beautiful Remains, but that one did not get too much, like we said, small tweaks, but
small tweaks here and there. I do want to go into Children Surrender, because I started laughing so hard what Andy said about this song, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is too funny. Can I please say it?
Sure. Okay.
So the reason why I'm laughing, sorry, because I came across a video where Andy was kind of explaining about the song in general when he first came up with it. So for those of us who don't know, believe it or not, we're supremes at Hot Topic, okay? A lot of merch was released, amazing t-shirts, buttons, bracelets, necklaces, sometimes the AP magazines were in there too. And Jake and the guys have said this multiple times throughout interviews that they were in competition with Twilight merch.
Twilight just happened to be booming at the same time
as Black Veil Brides. It was crazy. I do remember that. Never got into Twilight. I'm sorry. Vampires do not sparkle. Same. Anyway, moving on.
Do not like Twilight, but yes, carry on.
So, Twilight was huge and everything, with BVB getting huge too. I think Andy mentioned like how when the song was written and stuff, like label records would listen to it and then they would classify them as vampire rock.
No.
But this is so funny though, because because everyone kept telling Andy about vampire rock, that Andy's like, let's write our vampire song, which Children Surrenders.
Which makes sense, is if you think about it, sink your teeth into forever. I mean, now you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But the reason they were getting classified as the vampire rock is because for some reason in Hot Topic, they would put Black Veil Brides right next to Twilight.
Two different fields. I'm sorry, no.
Like, why? Okay, for one, I don't know why Hot Topic people were doing that. Maybe as a joke or something. I have no clue.
I feel
but because of that, everyone
saw...
related them to vampires.
I felt like when Twilight was coming out, BVB was merging and like coming into light. Like Hot Topic saw the sales number, so they just put those two up in front, and so people just walked in assuming, oh, BVB's related to Twilight's and BVB. Maybe their soundtrack, or maybe their song is in the soundtrack. It was bizarre. I remember just walking in. That was the two things I would just see.
Even then, walking into stores now, if I see two things, I don't relate them to each other. I just see them as two separate things that just happen to be next. So like, yeah, it's bizarre. But to hear that whole thing, I was cracking up myself. Me and Hudson were just like, what the
vampire rock.
But I can't lie. As I say all the time, we all interpret songs differently, and now all I can interpret with Children Surrender is vampires.
So anyone who's wondering, can they do vampire rock? Yeah, they have. It's called Children Surrender.
if you're a huge fan of vampires, listen to Children Surrender. For Knives and Pens is obviously the staple of the We Stitch These Runes record.
International Black Veil Brides Day.
Yes, International. You cannot. I'm just saying, anyone that says International Black Veil Brides Day does not listen to Knives and Pens. Are you okay?
That's a crime.
I know. It's a sin. Anyway, something that I found out with Knives and Pens is obviously on the original recording, I guess Andy was actually not happy with the original recording of Knives and Pens on the We Stitch album due to the sole purpose that the editors, the people that were the producers, pretty much, they enhanced Andy's voice to be higher than what it normally is. And of course, Andy did state, from when you start off from 16 going to 18 and you're singing, your voice changes. His voice is getting deeper, and for some reason the producer enhanced his voice to be higher than what it was. So Andy actually wasn't a fan of it. But after doing the re-recording of Knives and Pens with his actual deep original voice, he's been so much happier. And that is actually, he prefers the new Knives and Pens above the old, which I guess if you kind of do listen to them, you can kind of hear how Andy's voice is a pitch higher in Knives and Pens compared to the rest of the songs.
For the limitations they have, they did the best that they could, and I understand why maybe there was a couple of songs or a couple of parts of the album why Andy was a little bit flustered and didn't like the sound of it, but just due to the time limit they have, because I think they have after touring, they have this the label brand's like, you have a month, record an album, go.
Because if you think about it, it kind of does suck to write a song that means so much to not only yourself, but to a lot of fans, and to have someone mess with your vocals on it and change that. I mean, it really does. I guess for Andy, it throws it off. It's oh, that's not how I interpreted it. So I'm really glad that with the newer recording, it is exactly how he wanted, recorded with his vocals and everything.
Here's the deal with me with Knives and Pens. So obviously, we both seen the music video of Knives and Pens, kind of got us hooked from the start. iTunes did a release of that version from the music video itself, so I still have it. 2009. Wow. And then they came out with the original and Knives and Pens in it, but it's different than in the music video. And then the remastered one. And so I'm just listening to all of these different versions of Knives and Pens. I'm like, which one do I like best? And truth be told, don't get me wrong, the remastered can sound a lot better. I am, like I said, more clear, but I'm still a part, I guess it's just nostalgia reasons, of the music video audio.
No, I think I'm right there with you. I think I'll forever love the music video audio of Knives and Pens, just for the sole purpose of that is how I found Black Veil Brides. That is the first ever song that I heard from them, and that is what completely captivated me and drew me in. But real quick, you have heard the acoustic version of Knives and
Of course,
Pens.
duh.
Oh my god! But I'm just saying, like when I found that, to find that in high school, I was like, "This is a thing."
I know. Wait, do I have it here? I'm pretty much I do have it in my iTunes account somewhere. I swear, I have it somewhere. But yes, I do know what you're. Yes, I do remember finding that. I'm like, what?
I know the acoustic I thought was actually very well done.
Acoustic, and I keep forgetting at times. I don't know why the acoustic version is on the original We Said She's Spoon. So
What? No, it's not. It is
number
not on the original.
13, Knives and Pens acoustic.
You lie because
What? No, Nicole, find your album right now.
okay, but every time I play this in the car, it never plays an acoustic version.
I get the acoustic. What? It's so
Okay.
weird. Number 13, Knives and Pens acoustic.
Nope, mine only goes to 12.
Yours? What? No. Wait, bring it up closer. What? Whoa. Pause.
Yeah, mine
Pause.
just
Pause.
goes to 12. So that's the thing. I never found the acoustic version on this CD because my mom bought this CD from Hot Topic. Hot Topic did not have.
Hot Topic.
This is from Hot Topic too. It does.
Chris
Mine does.
Black Veil Brides, anyone who was involved with the We Stitch She Spoon. I'm sorry, this is blowing my mind. The fact that when did the acoustic Knives and Pen got onto We Stitch, the original?
I'm gonna take a photo of it really quick here. But yeah, so like that was the thing. That's why I never knew there was an acoustic version of Knives and Pens. I found the acoustic version of Knives and Pens on YouTube, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I was like, how do I get this on my iPod? And yeah, iTunes. So I was like, sweet.
I got iTunes, and then I saw it was on the album, which made me happy. What is going on? I have 13 because I have the Knives and Pen acoustic on my what?
I know, like, so that's kind of funny because I didn't know.
I know we've been off the rails, but honestly, our conclusion to this mystery now of the 13 or 12 songs is, like you said, and like Hudson said, you could have just gone like a bad bunch, that there was a mistake, but they just never got it back, and your mom happened just to grab it and get.
It is my luck. I am blitzed, y'all. Moving on.
Morticia's daughter.
Morticia's daughter. Perhaps one of the songs that got the most biggest change.
Biggest change for fans who are still learning about Black Veil Brides. So in the original album, Andy was dating someone at the time, and basically this was a love song to her. And it made me funny because the interview I watched, Andy stated like he was 16 years old, writing the song in the basement of his parents. And like, teenager love, we think it's a big deal. Like if we get like a little fight or a breakup, it's like the end of the world for us and stuff. It's crazy how
you're pretty sure no one has ever felt that same way you
like
have.
It's weird. So that's what he want. Like, he's a 16-year-old in love and stuff, and so everything happened. And with life happened, and unfortunately, he's no longer with that girl. Obviously, everyone knows that he's with Lilith Czar now, happily married to her. And so when they were making this song, the song meaning has changed for him because he wasn't 16 anymore. He didn't have this angsty teenager puppy love anymore. But he still loved the emotional part of the song it gave people. Because like he stated, like tons of people have played this in their weddings and stuff because of the love song aspect of it.
Guilty for that.
So, he still wanted to keep the song, but he gave Jinx freedom to do whatever with it.
And I think Jinx portrayed the song beautifully. Because when you don't, that's the thing. Not every song necessarily needs lyrics for you to feel a specific type of emotion. And I think for Jinx to do an overture of Mortician's Daughter and the way that he portrayed it, you still feel those emotions of love and hope, and it's so beautiful. To be honest,
it was truly beautiful just to hear that and stuff. And Jinx, I mean, we've said over and over, Jinx is just such a talented musician, playing the violin and everything, his skills with it. For Andy just to kind of give Jinx, here, this song means a lot to the Army. I want the emotional still there, but I want it just musically from your skills. And for Jinx is like, okay, Done.
I know, like blew it out of the park, literally.
I know when the remastered album came out, there were some fans like kind of a little disappointed that Andy did not sing it and stuff, which, you know, from their point of view, I can't understand, but from hearing Andy's reasons why, I do understand. So,
and I completely agree with you on that. Like, don't get me wrong, it was a song that I was looking forward to hearing on the remastered, and it did come as a shock when I was like, oh, whoa, there's no lyrics added in, but it did not, just because there weren't any lyrics, it didn't take away from the song by any means.
right.
You know, I think what Jinx did was beautiful and it enhanced it incredibly. I personally was not mad. I was in love with it. I think both versions are great. If you're feeling nostalgic and you want lyrics, you can listen to that OG. But if you're feeling no lyrics and you just want to vibe to the emotions of the instruments, then the remastered is perfect.
Oh, can I just say with the song, Andy made me laugh. He said, "My dad likes any song that we tell people to off."
Yep.
This was a off song.
All Your Hate is like a beautiful representation song for that.
I mean, come on, All Your Hate. It kind of says it on the title itself.
I think, okay, I could be completely wrong on this, but I don't think it was a shirt, but I don't know if it was something that Andy had stated in the past, if it was something a fan said, but do you remember where it was like, all your hate goes to my
Oh my God, yes!
That was a thing for a while.
It was a huge thing. Like, I swear to God, you've seen these photos. I know you have. I know you have them saved in your laptop. You showed me. You know how Andy had like these very tight, like leather leggings and stuff?
Yes.
You know how he had arrows pointing to his.
Yep. All your hate goes to my.
I will say, for All Your Hate, Jake stated that CeCe had a lot of changes to the song. He said that the crypt drum made it more metal that CeCe added to it. So that was really one cool. And CeCe obviously had a fun time playing it.
Well, and I actually do prefer the remastered version of All Your Hate. And it's really, I think the unfortunate part with All Your Hate is it is an underdog song. I don't think a lot of people tend to care for it too much. I mean, like, it was a song that I personally always loved. I mean, it's hard. I just love all Black Male Bride songs, but I really did. All Your Hate was something that I always listened to. To hear it remastered, I think it just sounds so much better than the OG version.
Heaven's Calling.
Yay. Love that song too. Heaven's Calling is actually one of the songs that they had the hardest time playing live. They just could not get that song to work. And I think Jake said it was due just to how the guitars, like how the notes of the guitars were supposed to be played. Yeah.
He didn't like the guitar.
So it always made it difficult to play live.
So he was so happy when they got a chance to fix it to make it sound smooth and clean.
And indeed it does. And apparently the remastered version, I guess they said, is way more popular than the original version.
Which makes sense. I mean, like he stated, smooth and clean, in which you can tell the difference between those two. So.
Oh my God, yes. And the change that they did with the notes of the guitar, the notes didn't complement one each other. It's almost as if they were trying to like do these really fast finger changes that just weren't complementing the song, and now it's pieced together perfectly.
Let's go to Never Give In, one of my favorite songs from this album. It was interesting to hear Andy talk about this song, how when they first recorded it to now how they remade it and stuff, because when they first did it, everything was still kind of brand new to Andy with writing songs and voice and stuff. So like the melody, he wasn't great at working at melodies. But again, due to the timeline they had and the budget, like he kind of had to wing the melody for it, which obviously he was not 100% happy with it, but he was happy to able to fix it. And obviously from that album from 2010, right, to now here, he's grown a lot and learned a lot. So for them to re-record it, and from his experience now and stuff, he was able to fix that melody. And it was also fun because, again, there was changes that Jake wanted to do, and he was finally able to fix it. So he's really excited about that. And violin was added to the song, which wasn't in the first one.
Speaking of how they didn't like the melody, I know that Jake was saying that they also weren't a fan of the chorus either, because they're like, it doesn't go anywhere. They're like, it's not really telling you. They're like, the concept and the storyline is there, but the chorus goes absolutely nowhere. But when they were remastering the song, they did not want to make any lyrical changes. They just wanted to fix up the melody. And I think with just the fixing up of that, once again, the fix up of it sounds absolutely beautiful. And I don't even think that they needed to do a lyric change because, as Jake stated, we all get the concept of it. We understand the meaning behind the song, and I think that's enough. And I do want to point out that, like, for me personally, out of all of the songs, I think Never Give In is the one that I was the most shocked and surprised with, because that beginning, just the little twinkles that you hear in the guitars, and I was like, oh my god. And I swear their guitars almost sound like a piano being played, like a little keyboard. And I was like, oh my god, like it was just mute. Oh my god, it made my ears tickle, and I loved it.
When the first album came out, I listened on Spotify with headphones because I really wanted to hear all those little changes that they've done for it. I can remember. So when Never Gave In came in, I was like ready for it because I'm like, oh my god, this is like one of my favorite songs from this album. Mine is Knives and Fans, obviously. Yeah, I might have started crying tearing up because it was so good. And the violins threw me off because it was just like, hi, Jinx, okay, hi, you're there. And I love that he said this, Jinx said this, because I also thought of it too. It's like, he added this violence to add a little darkness to the song, which I
Yeah. I was about to say, added in for dramatic effect.
Yes,
I know those violins were meant to be in there. It completed it.
Our last song to end this album,
Carolyn. Now, I know I've stated that I think, to the fans, the most dramatic change was the Mortician's Daughter, but according to Andy and the guys, Carolyn was the most dramatic change out of the entire songs.
This song was honestly, like you said, a big change. Like, they worked really hard. Like, Jake stated that, obviously, for those who don't know, that's his mom's name. He wrote this song in 2006. Didn't have the song fully developed at that time. And so when they recorded the research, again, a lot of factors against them. Song wasn't fully developed, but they got what they got, which again was beautiful. So for the redevelopment of it, he really wanted to fix all the little things he wanted to fix. And like, here's a fun thing: Cece helped Jake like crazy. According to Jake, Cece had like 100 different drum parts for him to pick from for the song.
Oh my god. Like, gotta pick one.
No, but like, here's 100.
At least you have a lot to choose from.
And I know that Jake stated he was kind of getting introduced and experienced with EDM. Sorry about, and that he wanted to included that into the remake, and he kind of wanted to brighten it up and build it up. This song,
the build up, it was definitely there. I think it's a much more impactful song on the re-recording than it is in the original. And as Ruth stated, that was a song that Jake had in development long before he met Andy. I think a little fun story is when Jake and Andy were living together and they were getting close, Jake did play that song for Andy, and that's when Andy's like, let's add this onto the record. The lyrics came about because Andy's like, how can I write lyrics that fit the way that Jake was feeling at that time? And I think the lyrics are a really perfect representation of his emotions. And it's really cool how they both combined each other's work to fit that.
For them to work together, obviously, because Andy knew that how much the song meant to Jake, and Jake wanted for this song to really remember his mom and stuff, who was a very big inspiration for him growing up. And like we stated, the song did change a lot. It had the most changes. It's so beautiful though how they do it, and I love the fact they changed the ending of the song, because in the original it was more of a fade of the song, and this one
fade off.
This one, it was not a fade. It was kind of like, the best way I could put it is like the original was a fade, like, okay, it's the unknowing, but now they kind of like did all this build up and brightness, and then they kind of have closure to the end of the song. Like, it's not just a question mark at the end of like fading it off. It's closure, warmth, and comfort, if that makes sense.
It does. And it's kind of the same, as you said, with the ending. It's the same with the with the opening of it, because in the original it's just that guitar, but in the re-recorded you still have that guitar, but then you have like that background atmosphere that's also hitting, and it sounds really beautiful. And I think that's kind of what makes it feel fuller.
Yep.
And this is also Andy's favorite song off the remastered version, by the way. And I do want to point out, I think what's really cool about Black Veil Brides, and now I do want to point out, I'm not saying that no other band does this. I know that there are other bands out there that it's like a brotherhood to them. And, you know, they are always sharing ideas. But I think something with Black Veil Bride, you know, for it to be the first album and for Andy to conclude, oh, let's put that song on there, you know, it means this much to Jake. I just think that goes to show like what a perfect relationship the guys have with each other. And I think that's really what helps to make Black Veil Brides the band that they are today. And as I said, I'm not saying no other band doesn't have that, but I do feel you do have some bands where like this, you have the singer who's kind of all about themselves. Like, well, I write the music, you're just going to do the guitar stuff. Whereas Black Veil Brides is like, hey, we're all going to write the music together. Exactly.
It's all equal for them, which I think it just shows their character and personality and just like who they are as a person. Honestly, we cannot thank BVB enough for this amazing remastered of We Stitch She's Bone. I mean, I think it definitely hit a lot of fans just for nostalgia reasons, honestly, for fans like us who have been there from the start. Like, you and I have been there before this album was released. The original was released.
It's crazy to see this remastered version, because it's something that I never thought of it as a concept idea, you know. And just I think listening to the remastered just makes me feel so incredibly happy, because it does bring back all that nostalgia of when I first found Black Veil Brides, and it's a really good feeling. And I'm really glad that they, you know, were able to go back and do a re-recording of Restitch and have it sound the way that it was intended to originally. And what's fantastic about this release is not only was it nostalgic for a lot of OG fans, but it did bring in a lot of new fans. The remastered version did, because you do have a lot of the newer fans that are like, oh yeah, I don't care about the OG one, the remastered one is great. But you know, it makes sense because that's what they were introduced to. So it is really cool if you think about it, because like We Stitch is the very first album, and you can't really, like, the remastered version, you can't sit there and say, well, that's not the first, like it's not the first, but it is the first. And for the newer people to hear that one as the very first album just is really cool. And I think that it was amazing that they drew in a lot more fans with that album.
One thing before we move on here is, I just have to, can we talk about the cover art?
Yeah, how have we not done that yet? Hello.
This cover art. Hello. I love it. I love the rendition of how they kind of did a change to their first original one. I will admit, this is just my opinion, I'm a little sad that Richard Villa did not do the remastered of this beautiful cover, because as most fans know, Richard Villa is very close to Andy, and he is the artist responsible for most of the covers, one through I think Veil. And this artist, I mean, it's a phenomenal job too. But the name is Luca Sola Cello, something like that. But I mean, it's a beautiful cover. I really love the decomposing the skull that like Nicole kind of did with her face right now and stuff, and it's just super cool. And honestly, I'm still considering getting this as a tattoo somewhere.
That actually, oh my god, that would be a very, very beautiful tattoo. I love the fact that there's so much detail that is added to the skull. As you said, it's literally the fact that you can tell that it's decomposing, you know, where most people would just have like, there's a skull. No, this is like a rotting skull.
It's a rotting,
and the so cool. And the small like design of like the stitches.
The stitch is still there. I mean, here's the original. I know. Again, I don't know if this is Andy per se, his skull rotting and stuff, but I'm gonna say it is, because we have the original where it is clearly Andy with the stitch. Now time has passed, he's still stitching it, but he's now decomposing and stuff.
See, that's how I interpreted it. So I'm glad we're on the same page.
Cool. Okay, BVB Army, we are here with today's fan shout-outs. So, we're going to give a very special fan shout-out because this fan gave us a shout-out last week on their own podcast, Radioactive. So, this fan shout-out goes to our lovely, goofy friend, Ian. Hello, Ian.
Ian, we absolutely love you. Thank you so much for the shout-out. And honestly, I have to say it. You are so incredibly sweet. You're probably like one of the sweetest people. I don't know how to say that. You're probably one of the sweetest people that I have ever met. You're so genuine and you stay true to who you are. And I never want that kindness to leave your soul. You are just an amazing person. And thank you for just always supporting Ruth and I in everything that we do. That absolutely means the world to us. And I hope you know that we support you just as much as you support us. Like, I keep going with Radioactive, you and Victoria, like, you guys got this. I really hope that it blows up for you because you guys deserve it.
You do. We see how much work you put into working with Radioactive with Victoria and stuff. And honestly, I mean, same with Nicola said, your soul is so kind. Keep true to yourself. Never lose sight of that. It was amazing having you on here, first meeting you here to tell your BVB story. It was just an amazing time having you and for you to come back and to meet you at Cincinnati, Ohio for the Trinia Territory. It was very surreal. And I know you consider us as our big sisters, and I have no words, but thank you. We appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I know we have our little disarguments here and there about certain things, sir, but
brothers and sisters bicker. It's okay.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Brothers and sisters bicker. I just happen to be your older sister who thinks it's always right. Kidding. But you're just an amazing person, Ian. We care deeply about you, and just thank you for all your support. And we hope that your goals in life come true. For anyone who doesn't know, he works at his own podcast with our other friend Victoria, Radioactive. We'll put all the links in the description. Also, he's a writer. Period. He's a writer. He does a lot of poetry. And I think on his TikTok, he does a project called the Untitled Project where he shares his own poetry and stuff. He's a really good writer, honestly. Sometimes his work is amazing. And I know his goal is to get his writing out there. I know he worked on a short story called Bara, I believe. Yes. And he's still working on more. And Ian, just know to never give up on your goals. I know life can be a but don't give up. Go, take the risk, do it.
You will make it far, sir. Your writing is superior. I was impressed with Bara. Thank you for sending me a copy. Thank you for the lovely message on it too. You're so sweet.
Yes. And just know this for a fact, we will see you very soon here in the future for another meetup. Or who knows, you might make your way to Colorado or Washington. Who knows? We
might make our way to Missouri. You never know.
That too, but it will happen one day or another. Well, we will all meet each other again in person for you can give your two big sisters a hug. All right, BVB Army, we hope you guys enjoy this episode of us touching and breaking down of the beautiful 10-year anniversary piece of We Stitch These Spoons, sorry. And honestly, Blackfoot Brides, thank you so much for all your work you have done. This was definitely nostalgia and stuff. Just to hear all the changes, you guys definitely worked your asses off with this album. We just can't thank you enough, so thank you for it.
Yes, we appreciate the fact that you guys are willing to go back and do a revamp of Restitch. We could not ask for anything better than that. And for all the fans watching, please let us know like what your favorite song is off the re-recording, what your thoughts were, which song it like impressed you and shocked you the most.
Exactly. You can find all of our social medias down below. Go follow us on Twitter, TikTok, our own personal Instagram pages. Spooky month is coming here, guys. There's a lot happening in October, so I don't think you guys are ready for it.
No, you're definitely not ready for our first look of spooky month.
I think I remember what it is. I gotta double check with you.
You're not ready. Y'all aren't ready.
But we're here. We're ready for spooky month. Yes, we're still getting the fan story, so hopefully we can get back to that next month in here. But thank you guys so much for watching. Check us out for spooky month next week here soon. So we will see you guys in spooky
next month. Hit that subscribe button, by the way.